Hey guys, so I'm making this video because I was inspired by a few other YouTube videos I've seen about why certain people have chosen their career paths, and I thought that I could tell you why I chose to be a teacher. And right now I'm not a certified teacher, but I am a student teacher and I'm halfway through my first year, so I can give you a little insight as to why I chose to be a teacher and kind of how to go about the process of being accepted into a credential program, choosing a credential program, and just deciding what subject you want to teach, what age you want to teach. So we are going to start now. So once I knew I wanted to be a teacher, I started applying to a credential program. Now there's many different kinds of credential programs. You can choose a semester-long credential program. You can choose a credential program and master's program that's integrated. So by the time you finish, usually it's like 2 years, it depends on the program. You can get your master's and your credential in the same program, in the same span of time, I guess. Year-long credential programs that you just student teach for an entire year and you get your credential. I graduated from Cal State Fullerton, so I knew all my credits would transfer into my credential program at Cal State Fullerton. You usually do have to take prereqs for university programs. So I had to take 12 units. So that's 4 classes of prerequisites to get accepted into the credential program, and of course you have to pass all those classes. On top of that, I also had to pass a subject knowledge test, which was the CSET. And this is a statewide exam that you have to pass in order to even student teach. So I had to pass the CSET English, and there's 4 parts. So you can take them separately, you can take them all together. You have to study. I was so nervous because I was on a time crunch. I was going to graduate in 3.5 years with my BA, and I really wanted to go into the credential program right away and just be done with everything in like 4.5 years. So I knew I could not afford to fail that test the first time. And the test is about 200 multiple choice questions, 2 essay questions, and I think 3 short answer questions or something like that. And they're all broken up into different sections. Another thing also about that subject matter test, you have to pass all parts of your CSET. So I just bought a bunch of books, like this isn't the book, but it's like this big, you know, and you just study. So I studied for about 6 months before I took it, and it takes a lot of internal drive to study like that for something that you're not going to get a grade on, but you just have to pass it. And I just locked myself down every single day and just studied a little bit, and I ended up passing all 4 parts on the first try, and I was so happy. I honestly cried because it meant that I could continue on my journey in a timely manner, and that was my ultimate goal. If you decide to do the test, so if you want to be an elementary school teacher, you would take the multiple subject CSET, and that's like history, science, math, English, right? But if you just want to specialize in one subject, like for me, high school English, you would just take the English. If you were at high school history, you'd take history. If you want to do the testing route, just know you have to be really independent, really study on your own, and you'll be able to pass it. Another way you can get accepted into a credential program, you can major in English for teachers, and you can bypass taking that test by taking your entire 4 years of college in English for teachers. So you would learn everything you're going to teach. So you can either study for the big test and take this huge test about like everything, or you can major in a specific it has to be for teachers, like it has to be specified. Just because you major in English doesn't mean that you bypass the test. That's just part of the things you have to do to get accepted into a credential program. Obviously you have to have your TB test, so you have to go and get that done. You have to get your fingerprints done. You have to make sure that you get that done, because if you don't get it done, or you don't get your fingerprints like back in time, if you're doing a mail-in thing, you cannot be accepted into the program. Once you apply and you send in all your paperwork, you fill out everything, you have to have your bachelor's, so you have to have graduated. Send in your official transcripts that you have graduated your undergrad, and you can move on to your credential program. After that, what I did, the route I chose was the year-long teaching credential. So my school doesn't offer an integrated master's, and it also doesn't offer a semester only. My school was a whole year. Now, choosing the right credential program is really tricky. I'm just going to give my personal opinions on the credential programs and like the different kinds and the kinds that I looked into, and if they don't sound like they're right for you, then you can always look into other ones. So for the semester-long credential program, I didn't really look into it earlier. I really wanted to do Cal State Fullerton, and Cal State Fullerton doesn't offer semester-long. But what I do know about semester-long is it's obviously really short. It's like 6 months long or shorter. I know ones that are 4 months long, so you can get your credential in 4 months. The problem with that for me was that I didn't feel like I would be ready to go into a full-time teaching career after just 4 months of experience student teaching. I didn't think that would be enough for me. I think maybe employers would like it if they saw that I had more experience doing a year-long student teaching experience rather than just like rushing and doing 4 months. Now, I totally understand if you have a family or if you're married and you need to get a job super fast, then yeah, the 4-month teaching credential program would work for you because you need to get that done. That's why I chose the year long, because I had that time and I'm young and I want to get as much experience as possible before going into the profession. You just pick whichever one fits your lifestyle the best. So the master's and credential program integrated is longer, but you do end up coming out with your master's. It is longer, it is way more expensive, it just takes more time and it takes more energy, and usually, like, I just graduated from college, like I kind of want to start working and like just get my credential and start working instead of just doing more school. Eventually I do want to go back and get my master's for sure because it's a great pay raise, but for now I just want to get my credentials. So now I'm going to get into my first semester of student teaching. I got accepted into the credential program, and on a preliminary basis, which was if I passed all my undergrad classes, they had to check on that, and then I also had to pass interviews. The interviews that I had were with professors in the credential program, and they basically ask you questions about why you want to be a teacher. They ask you questions about the education system. They'll ask you questions about English specifically, like the content. And for me, I had to analyze a poem and read it to them and then tell them like how I broke it down and what the poem means. And that's basically the interviews. My interview went pretty well. I thought I had a few hiccups that I was nervous about. I was like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said that, or that was, I don't know if that's what they want to hear, but my advice to you in the interviews is to definitely be yourself, definitely show your enthusiasm. Sometimes they'll ask you really serious questions, and then other times they'll ask you kind of fun questions just to see how much you love the subject you want to teach. And I was just honest with them, and I feel like just showing your personality and showing how much you really want to be a teacher helps you a lot in those interviews. I passed that interview round, and then they send another email to you saying you have to come to mandatory orientation, and once you go to mandatory orientation, then you're in. So I went to mandatory orientation, and it was with all the other subjects. So we had history, we had science, math, English, PE, everybody was in there. And they just, in the big auditorium, and they told us everything we were gonna do for the semester. And it's kind of cool because we're all nervous and we all have, I feel, the same kind of heart. We all want to help kids, we all want to teach, we love education, and we just want to make it better. It's kind of this optimistic feeling. So that was a really cool first day. You have to register for classes also. So you have to register for your student teaching, where you go in and you actually teach the kids, and then you also have 2 other classes that you have to go in and you have to take. So you have, this is how you teach English class, and then you have another class that's like, this is how you survive student teaching class, and then you have your actual student teaching experience. So with placements, okay, everybody's always really nervous about placements. I got super nervous. I was actually the last one placed in my cohort, and I was super nervous, and I actually just got placed in an awesome school. And I went my first day and I was very nervous again. I remember I was like, my heart was racing and my hands were sweating just to introduce myself to the class. I had done teaching before, but for some reason there was so much pressure on your first day of student teaching and just, oh, this is it, you know, this is the start of the rest of my life. And it's funny to think back to that now and knowing how I didn't know any of the kids, I didn't know any of their stories or their names or just their lives. And it's crazy to think back to that and know how much, you know, they changed my life. You just start off very, very nervous. But that's okay. My teacher was great. She really integrated me slowly. So I would start doing little activities and then I would start, you know, I remember like the first thing I did was like read out loud to them, just very, very simple, like for the first like 3 weeks. And then I started getting very used to being in front of them. So I would do some lessons and just like half and half, or I would model her, like she would teach something and then the next period I would teach the same thing, but I would just copy what she did. And my teacher is fantastic. I learned so much from her and I have a lot more to learn from her. Just getting that experience in front of the class, like just go for it. I remember the first day I emailed her, she gave me my email and I emailed her a bunch of ideas that I had and I just wanted to like jump in. I didn't want to be in the back sitting there twiddling my thumbs, not doing anything. I wanted to like just jump in. And I think that teachers really appreciate that if you want to, you know, take that initiative to make the class better or show her your ideas or him your ideas. It's really important to go all out. Get to know the kids' names immediately, form connections with them, help them, talk to them about their day, offer to read over their homework, offer to grade things for your teacher, just offer. And then about halfway through the semester, you'll really start to be able to like teach full lessons. I would say that the thing that really put me in front of the class the most was having the opportunity to substitute. I had to register with the district as a substitute teacher, but once I was accepted, you have to go to a little orientation, but whenever my teacher was absent, I was able to be the sub, so I could teach the entire class. Like, I actually ended up teaching 4 periods. Just being able to be that authority and not having like the main teacher for the kids to look at, but just you, it gives you that autonomy to really like make the class your own, have them get to know you and you can get to know them, have them get to know your teaching style. It's really important to have that time just with them. And I remember I was just dying to have the class to myself and be able to see what I could do with the kids on my own and just like get that first experience. But student teaching, it's stressful. It depends on the teacher you have. Your master teacher, that's the teacher you're paired with. Your master teacher can throw you in and just leave the room. There's experiences where master teachers will just leave. And then there's experiences where master teachers will help you and kind of guide you until they like let you fly on your own. And for me, that was my master teacher. She really told me like the tricks of the trade and helped me get to know the classroom and helped me get to know how best to teach like these certain kids. And it helped me so much. And I'm going into this next semester of student teaching really confident and knowing I can do it. So the first semester you're kind of getting integrated into the class, and then the second semester you're going to be full-time student teaching. So it's just you. The teacher doesn't help you, you just go for it. So having finished my first semester, I feel really confident in fully teaching my second semester. There's a lot of things I could cover about student teaching. It's hard to think of them all right now, but just stay super organized throughout the entire process. Stay super organized throughout your application process from that time, from your prerequisites, all the way up to the end. Organization is super key. There's a lot of deadlines. Credential programs are super deadline driven. So you have to meet all your deadlines. It's very, very important. And trust me, for me, there were so many deadlines. I honestly almost couldn't keep track. There were so many deadlines, and you just have to be on it. If you're really passionate about kids and the subject, that will really help you in your first year of student teaching, and that will really help you accomplish what you want to, which is to make an impact at the school that you're teaching at. Let me know if you have any more questions. I definitely didn't cover everything I wanted to, but I'll do some more updates as I progress through my credential program. Hope you enjoyed.